Earlier this month, the San Francisco 49ers fired GM Trent Baalke, and over the weekend they replaced him with a Hall of Fame candidate, John Lynch. He has no front office experience, but is being given a 6-year contract, according to our Adam Schefter. Lynch reached out to their presumed future head coach, Kyle Shanahan, before reaching out to the 49ers about his interest in the GM job. Lynch is a former defensive back for the Bucs and Broncos and was a longtime NFL analyst for Fox. And look who's here, Jeff Saturday. It's been a minute.
It's
good to see you.
Thank you very much.
Good to have you back with us. Stephen A., I want to start with you here. Do you have a problem with the 49ers hiring Lynch?
I have a big problem with it. And for the purposes of Lynch's family and him who's watching, he does an outstanding job at Fox. He was an outstanding football player. I don't know him personally. I'm not questioning anything about this man. My comments have absolutely nothing to do with Lynch himself. My issue is about the process. Jeff, Max, you know me. I'm all about the process of fairness. No executive experience whatsoever. No, not a member of a scout team, not a member of a player personnel department, not a GM, nothing. Absolutely, positively nothing off the field other than being an analyst for football. And you get not only the general manager's job, but a 6-year deal? 6 years? 6 years. And on top of it all, how did you get the job? Because you got a relationship with Kyle Shanahan because you used to play with his father and you know him. And as a result, you picked up the phone and you asked him, let's rap, let's talk. And then after that, you spent a couple of nights at Ned York's house, okay? And then after that, you land a 6-year deal. And I say this, and I know this makes folks uncomfortable, but it's first take, so I'm going to put it right there. I don't know of any black man in history that has gotten a GM job in NFL history under such circumstances. That resonates with me. Now, they interviewed 2 African-American candidates, and I made sure that I put this down on my note charts because Louis Riddick, our very own Louis Riddick, was one of them, of course. Mm-hmm. Of course, you had Jimmy Ray. They interviewed him. George Patton, that's right, George Patton, Elliot Wolf, a couple of other guys. They interviewed about 6 different candidates according to numerous sources that I have. 2 of those guys, Jimmy Ray and Louis Riddick, were obviously individuals that they picked up. So you went through the process per se. But I'm like, come on. It's about fairness. Give me a qualified candidate. I got nothing to say. And again, I wish Lynch well. Seems like a really good guy, excellent analyst, very knowledgeable about the sport. But when you look at a hire like this, unfortunately, it puts guys like yourselves and others in uncomfortable positions to some degree, maybe, because a guy like me is standing up here and pointing out the inequity. The man has no experience. And because of his friendship with Kyle Shanahan, he gets a 6-year deal in the National Football League. Come on, y'all.
It doesn't put me in an awkward position at all. I mean, right. I appreciate that point of view. I would say it's very interesting to me that a team that has spiraled to the bottom of the league, partly because they ran a great coach out of town. Right, they had a great coach. There's a good argument to make that over a 3-year span, the San Francisco 49ers were the best team in football in spite of never winning a Super Bowl. Right. Like the way the Buffalo Bills were when they went to 4 straight. And over that span, all together, they were the best team in football when I was a kid. The San Francisco 49ers, 3 years, they made it to the Super Bowl. They were always in the NFC Championship game. They were likely, over that entire time, the best team in football with a great coach. They ran the coach out of town. So they spiraled to the bottom of the league of their own doing. And once you're there, Jeff, you go out and hire a guy with 0 experience. You're entitled to do that. And maybe you strike gold, right?
Right.
But, boy, you better. And if, as Stephen A. says, because you gave him a 6-year deal, it's not working out, the last thing Niners fans are ever going to want to hear is, well, you know, he has a 6-year contract. Like, if by year 2 it's a disaster, you have to eat the last 4 years on that deal. Niners fans are not going to want to hear it.
Right. Well, let me say this. The 6-year deal, I think, had more to do with his job at Fox than it did the longevity of what their expectations are. I think he was in a very good job. He was doing a very good job at it. So that 6-year deal, it's to cover that because he's not just going to come for nothing, right? I mean, you understand the business side of it.
Yes, I do.
I also think it's a dumpster fire there anyway. So, 2 coaches, 2 years, you ran out a great football coach. All the traditional ways of doing it have failed them. And it has failed terribly the last couple of years. And so I think as they looked at it, they thought, how can we put this thing back on the rails? And to your point with the relationship he has with Shanahan, and as inequitable as it may seem and probably is, football is a relationship business. You know it. I know it. There are a lot of guys who hire their friends when they get jobs.
Relationship business.
Yes, you know what I mean. But you know what I mean. So that's the way it always is. Is it fair? It's probably not fair.
That's why the Rooney Rule is so important, because it is a relationship business.
And Louis Riddick and Jimmy, both guys, very talented, very qualified guys. But I think they went outside the box here, and I think they thought if they can get two guys who are like-minded. John Lynch is going to walk in here. I do know him personally. I played against him. Fierce competitor. I know him. I've been at Pro Bowls with him. I know him personally as well. This guy is a grinder. He is a true grinder by every definition of the word. And I'm going to tell you, he will blow you away when you sit down. He's got no ego. He'll bring in anybody that he thinks can help this team win and be successful. The one thing I would say I appreciate about that is he doesn't have all the relationships in the front office that other people are coming to that business with. Because, again, it is a relationship business. So if you've worked with a guy, you may have promised him, hey, man, when I get it, I'm taking you. When you get it, you're taking me. He's got no ties like that. That guy's going to come in. He's been working in an analyst chair. He doesn't have those things. So he can bring people in that he knows will give him a good shot. And having that relationship with Shanahan, if that's the guy, I know we're presuming.
Let's give him credit that he knows football, though.
He definitely knows football. But here's the deal. I've been around the best, right? Bill Polian, Hall of Famer, I've been around the best. What made him the best was that he sought his coach's preference, and he gave them the ingredients that they felt they would win with it. Whether it was Marv Levy, Tony Dungy, Jim Caldwell, you name it, he gave his guys that. Not every GM does that, and John Lynch, I feel personally, will do that. That's why that relationship is so important.
You're right, and similar to Steve Kerr. There's nothing. I mean, when I didn't like the fact that Mark Jackson got booted out of Golden State,
exactly.
You can't question Steve Kerr.
Right.
I mean, Steve Kerr was a former champion. He was a former general manager in Phoenix. He had aspirations to coach. I had an issue with the fact that he got a 5-year deal for double the amount of money they paid Mark Jackson when Mark Jackson was the coach. Because, again, we're talking about the issue of fairness, even though the Golden State Warriors, first-class organization. But I'm bringing up and I'm addressing your point about Lynch to say this. I want the Lynch family to know.
It's not personal. No, it's not personal.
I'm not talking about him. No. I'm saying when you are in a league that has a Rooney Rule, that is associated with the Fritz Pollard Alliance, that prides itself on being associated with a fair and equitable process, and then something like this happens, it debunks all of that. Because it shows, that's not, that's what I'm saying is not right.
But isn't it okay that, so, I mean, there will be times.
And it didn't seem like you were coming in that way.
There will be times where, like, a white guy doesn't have experience and gets the job, right? And, like, here's one of those instances. He's inexperienced and he got the job. And sometimes that will happen, even if the optics aren't great.
And all I'm asking is, let me see a black man with no experience whatsoever getting the same opportunity, and I'm good. I got nothing to say.
Great point.
If Louis Riddick would have been selected, we'd have been happy about it.
He's got front office experience, though.
Yeah, he does.
You mentioned Bill Polian. We want to get into your former organization right now, and they have a change at GM.